All right, guys, let's get to it. How to dominate as tank in Marvel Rivals Captain America, Part 2. In Part 1, I went over how to create space as Captain America, and you do that by harassing the backline. That's how you create space for your team. In Part 2, we're going to get into the mentality, which is an extension for Part 1. Let's get right to it. This will be a quick video. So we just won the point. So the cart's going to start pushing out. This is a diamond game, and this is the enemy team. You can see the outline only because this is replay mode. Okay, and real quickly, in every map, usually what you have is a main route, and then you have usually 2 flank routes. All right, as Captain America, you almost always want to be taking the flank routes. You almost never want to take the main route. All right, so I will go over that maybe in a different video, but let's go ahead and play it. So which way do you think I'm going here? Okay, my mentality is what? To attack their backline. But I'm not going to take the main route to get there. I'm flanking.
That vehicle to its destination.
I hear spider webs, and we have the only Spider-Man in this game on my team, so I know he's probably attacking the back line, so I figured let me try to pounce on the back line with him and try to get a kill. Spider-Man kills the Bucky. I didn't like what was going on. I felt my health dwindling pretty quickly, so I got out. All right, when you get in and you fight and attack with Captain America, you want to use your abilities to get out. Okay, your slam or your shield bash. Usually you will not have your slam because you use that to engage. Okay, but I just so happen to have both of them because I couldn't use my slam coming out from that doorway. All right, but let's real quickly, we'll go over something. This is the mentality of Captain America here, and then I'll finish out the video with some more clips. Okay, your mentality should be number 1, to harass the backline. And the best case scenario is if you can kill the support. If you can get a support to die, that's what you want. But in a lot of cases, that will not happen. But just because you don't kill a support, that doesn't mean that you're not dominating the game. Okay, if you can't kill them, well, another great scenario would be, you know, if they live, but they cannot support their team when their team needs support. Another thing that can happen that is great for your team is if you can get the support to use their ultimate. Okay, there's nothing better than diving a Luna and then you force her to use her ultimate when your DPS have their ultimate. Right, so now your Storm can use her ultimate after Luna is finished, and she can get 2-3 kills. Right, you know, it's not a good thing when Storm uses her ult and then they're just able to pop a defensive ult to counter and deny all the value from a DPS ult. Okay, so when you dive as Captain America and they are on the verge of dying and they want to live, so they pop their ultimate, that's a win for your team. And the priority for Captain America, rule number 1, is you must live. There's nothing worse than diving the back line, not getting a kill, and dying as Captain America. That's when you are just feeding. So this is a top-down view of what we just saw. And take a look at what's going on. Star-Lord and both supports are all looking at me. That's a 3-on-1 in favor of their team in their backline. However, the trade-off is we have a tremendous advantage in the front line. We are 5 against 2. Both of their tanks are not getting any support from their Star-Lord, and they're not getting any support from their backline, right? So it's easier for them to die here, especially 5v2. However, we weren't able to stay for a long enough time for them to die, but we will show you the value that we get after this interaction. So I didn't like it because I felt like I was getting, my health was getting a little too low, so I got out of there. The Bucky who's out of position, and that's why he died. So it's good to see something like that so you know not to be like Bucky. When the opposing team has a Spider-Man, you should not be that far away from your team by yourself. He's just going to dive you and kill you. All right, back at it. Notice how immediately after we go back to our team, what do? Right back on the flank. That's the mentality of Cap. I have a feeling that their supports are further back due to where the cart was when I was running this way. So now I'm going to take this doorway as opposed to this doorway. Again, because I'm trying to get to their supports, their backline. Uh-oh. She used an ultimate, right? Great value for our team. We didn't waste a DPS ult, and they wasted a defensive ult. I want to get to something. That's why I put this in here. This was a question in the last video. He says, my problem is my team never capitalized when I distract the enemy team. So in the last video, I went over how when you dive the enemy team, you are demanding so much attention from the supports and sometimes the DPS that it leaves the opposing team's front line vulnerable to attack, and your team can take advantage of you creating that distraction where they can attack their front line. But what he's saying is when he does do things like this and attack the back line, his team does not capitalize on that. So what can we do to fix that issue? So number one, you can be in voice and you can let them know, hey, look, you guys, I'm going to dive their back line. And when I dive their back line, I want you to punish their front line and move forward. You can do that in voice. But you don't have to do that in voice because I don't use voice and I solo queue. You don't even have to do that. All right, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, or maybe you tell them and they still don't do it. Okay, well, here's the solution to that. All right, if you will not punish the front line when I attack the back line, then what I will do is wait till you start fighting the front line, then I will dive the back line. As we see here, I know the fight is going on because I hear all the sounds, and you will develop a feel for this. You'll know when the fight is going on. And that's when I know I can dive the back line and get value, right? So they're capitalizing on me diving the back line, not because they know I'm diving the back line. It's just because they are fighting the front line, right? So instead of them waiting for me to dive the back line and me telling them to fight the front line, I just wait for them. So that's how you can get them to capitalize, all right? By simply waiting for them to attack, and when they're attacking, that's when you attack. This ties into the second thing in the list that I gave. You know, you're trying to get the support to die, but if he doesn't die, you still get value if, you know, the support lives, but he's not able to support his team, and this is the key part of that phrase. He's not able to support his team when his team needs support, right? The worst thing a lot of people do when they play dive or a dive character is they dive on the support when their front line does not need support, the opposing team. If none of my teammates were here and they were way over here coming out of spawn, and I dive their back line at that moment, okay, would their front line need support? No, right? Because they're not under attack, they're not taking damage, my team is way over here. So what's going to happen in that scenario? The front line is going to turn around and it's going to be 6v1, everyone focusing on me, and I'm going to die. Why? Because we dove the back line when their front line were not in need of support. You want to dive the supports in the back line when the front line is in need of support, because you put them in a position to where you're either going to have to turn around and deal with me, and when you turn around, you're going to die, or you can continue fighting and now your supports are going to have to make a decision. So that's how you can get your team to capitalize when they will not capitalize if you try to attack the back line. So we got her use her ult. Look at the mentality, right? The second she's out of there and we can't kill her, we're not running to the front line. We look for the other support, and now we're attacking her. One of the number one things that I see, the main things that I see with supports is they panic. They're not used to this type of pressure. She just used her ult when two of their players are dead, right? Look at the value we're getting here. We forced 2 defensive ults, right? Good things happen when you attack the backline as Captain America when the team fight is going on. Another time to do it is right when the team fight starts. That's when you're on their backline.
I'm ready to put on a show.
By the eye of Agamotto.
So I heard Doctor Strange ult. So that's when I dive to the front line to try to get in his way and to help my team. So again, it's the mentality. I'm thinking about my team, right? The way I can help my team the most, dive the back line. The way I can help my team when they get ulted and I don't think that they have a way to defend against that is to see if I can get in the way in between the damage and them, right? You should always be thinking about how to help your team as tank. What's my mentality? Right back on the support, right? All right, so they all died. And now Cloak and Dagger is getting out of there, waiting for the retreat. This is where we need to get. And watch what happens here. Their team's going to come from over here. But again, I'm thinking about the supports. So I pop that because I want this kill, but I know that their team is behind me, right? And we're going to see the value that we're getting here. Couldn't get her, and she gets out of there. Guess what? Right on the other support. Right? So we can back up a little bit. Look at her health bar. This is when I knew that she's getting support. When her health bar went up, that's when I knew, okay, the other support is giving her healing. Right? So now I know, okay, the second she gets out, I'm going to dive the other one. And usually when that happens, when she leaves, she's leaving to help her team. She's not going to help the other support, especially when they're that close to losing, because the rail to win is right by the cart right now. So we're just pretty much carrying the game here, right? No support now, or at least no Luna. So here's a top down of what we just saw, where I'm going to pop my ult.
Almost there. Don't turn back now.
And pay attention to that subtle movement there. This is where we win. The cart's like right here, right? Look at their Magneto, right? He's looking at me, but he's gonna ignore it and push in. Why? Because he's so afraid of us winning the point. So we put him in a tough spot. Come and help her, and we win, or go help your team and she dies. Right? He doesn't know what to do, and he chooses the lesser of two evils. You're on your own. He can't help. He doesn't want to help. They're so focused on stopping the cart. Luna's looking at her. Now she's trying to heal her friend, right? Now you're not getting healed. You're not getting healed. And he's safe up here.
Against the world.
Right? None of them are getting healed. And that'll be it. So I will leave it at that, guys. This is just showing the mentality as Captain America. At every point in all those interactions, the number one thing I'm thinking about is how can I help my team? And number two, the way I do that is by harassing the back line. And we got the cloak and dagger, she's dead, and of course we win the game. Okay, and we carried the game, but we didn't do it with a lot of damage. There will be games to where you will be third place with damage, but you still carried the game, right? Because it's all about creating space for your team. So I'll leave it at that. I hope you got something from this video, and I hope you keep coming back for more, man. Peace.